To deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay.
Totally.
Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now.
Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com. Brought to you by Glisten and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome to the Living Full Out show. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. I'm excited about today's show very much because we're going to be talking about life transitions. Okay, we all have those transitions in life where, we might be happy one minute, just in despair and sad the next minute. We might grow up in poverty and then one day we finally make it. We get successful, we have abundance of money, and then we lose it. Life will go through transitions related to health, relationships, finances, and everything else. And it's how we weather that storm. It's our survival skills. It's the way we talk to ourselves. It's the way we talk to others during our time of crisis. So over the course of today's show, we're going to be having a very inspirational guest, Nikki Johnson Houston, coming up in our next segment. Her story is really touching in so many ways. So I look forward to you hearing about that. And we are opening the phone lines for you to call in. That number is 800-333-0001, 800-333-0001. I was just talking to a friend yesterday, in fact, and I was very touched. I was sharing with him about how several years ago I went through a huge life transition. I remember my eyes kept changing. Every couple of years with my vision takes a jump. And, I'll be seeing something one day and then the next day next year, it's blurry or not even there. And that's scary. And at the same time, I was dealing with the death of my father. He has now since passed, but, I saw him go through 4 years of chemo and a lot of different struggles with his cancer, and that was heartbreaking. And then so many other life transitions, all within a 1-year span. You better believe it. I was exhausted. I was sad. I felt hopeless. But what got me through were my friends, were my family. And most of all, what got me through was my belief in myself. So wherever you are in your life today, always tap into that inner strength. And when you can't find that inner strength, when you can't even feel your heart anymore, or you can't even feel the energy in your body, that's when you want to reach out to someone and not just sit in that place of despair, but have a friend help you to find that love, to find that passion, to find that purpose. We're going to be going to the phone lines now for a call. Welcome to the Living Full Out show.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Hi. Hi. So tell us, what's going on?
Well, first of all, I've been listening for the last couple of minutes, and I think that's exactly where I need to go. Because first of all, I'm in my late 40s, where I have been out of work for a little while, and I'm trying to get back into it because I took a long break, and I have been trying to get a job it's been almost a year and a half. I know I'm capable. I've been applying. I can get to the interview stage, and then somehow it's just so many rejections that at this point, I know I just feel like so down on myself. I feel like I should just stop trying. And I'm kind of frustrated with people saying, don't give up, because I think there's a time when you really need to rethink and say, okay, maybe it's just not going to happen.
Well, you've actually said a couple things that are very insightful, and you're right. If you feel as though you're going down a road and you're hitting the same brick wall over and over again, you might want to self-correct and find a different focus. But I guess a question I have for you is: would you hire you?
I would.
And why would you hire you?
Because I have a passion for what I want to do, and it's a very specific line which I have, and I am very enthusiastic about it, and I have a lot of knowledge. The problem is, I don't think I can put it across when I sort of present myself, and I feel like I just need to be given a chance, and I can be so good. I have so much to give.
I want to teach you something that I've actually taught my team over the years. But I want to teach you something, and it's called the 7-layer interview. And this is ironic that I'm teaching you this on the air. But when you go to an interview, that is your time to shine. That is your time to brag about you. But at the same time, it's really important that you turn it around and invest in learning about their needs. So what the 7-layer interview is let's say you're applying to be, what's your dream job? What would that be?
It's basically dealing with students and an advisory field, which
okay.
is what yeah.
Okay. So let's say you're sitting across from someone and they're hiring for you to be an advisor for students. Okay. Mm-hmm. What you want to ask them is what are you looking for? What's important to you about having an advisor that can really connect with your students? And then let that person who's interviewing you answer. Well, we feel as though, our students, we find out about all these crises after the fact, and people don't feel like they can come in and connect with the counselors or the advisors. Well, what would be important if we could prevent those crises from happening, if we could catch those troubled students early on? Well, if we could catch them early on, then our school would get a lot more notoriety for the fact that we have such a great staff, that we're able to be so connected to our students. Well, what's important about being so connected to your students? Well, I would feel like we really did something special. We really grew. You see how when you ask questions of the person that's interviewing you, when you essentially turn the tables around and you interview them, you're making yourself that perfect fit.
Sometimes I feel it's probably because it's of my age, maybe.
No, it's not age. It is not age. That's what people tell themselves. People tell themselves it's age. They tell them it's what they're wearing, it's what they're driving, it's all that. It is not. I promise you this. People hire based upon results, but a lot of times results come from who the person is, their skill set, their charm, their personality. That's what counts. It's not your age. I promise you that. And
because that's how I've been finally I've reconciled myself to thinking that maybe it's my age, because I feel like I come out okay in the interviews, and somehow it just feels that maybe right, like you said, that a lot of people probably end up feeling it's their age. And
well, I would personally shake it up. I would shake it up and assume, from here going forward, assume that it's not your age. Assume that, start implementing that interview strategy that I told you about. And whatever you do, don't give up. And, we're going to be going into a commercial break here soon, so I have to wrap our call up. But the thing that I want you to really get here today is take that belief in yourself and just keep going. You're going to get a ton of no's before you get that yes. But when you do get that yes, you're going to be awesome. You're going to be on fire. You're going to be living your purpose. So what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to call back in the future here and keep us posted on your progress.
Okay, I'll do that. And main thing is that you're telling me I should not give up.
Do not give up. Do not give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on others in your life who are trying to reach their dreams. It's really important that you continue to believe in yourself, that you keep that fire in your belly for what you want to do strong. And on days that you feel it's low, do something that's going to fire that up. Listen to a song that will get you in the mood. Read a good quote. But whatever you do, don't give up, because this is your life. This is your life worth living. Don't let others dictate it for you. Okay?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And like I said, do call in and keep us posted, okay?
I will do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. So she brings up a really good point. You know, the thing is it's hard sometimes to take rejection. It's hard sometimes to keep mustering that positive energy of not giving up. And sometimes you just want to give up. That's real. That's just how reality is. But the thing is that it isn't about giving up. It isn't about do you or don't you. It's really choosing the words. When we speak to ourselves negatively, and sometimes we do it at home when no one else is hearing, I just want to give up, or I want to quit, or I'm not good enough, or I'm too old, or whatever. You know, that's not being a good friend to ourselves. That's not setting ourselves up for success. So the way that you set yourself up for success is you talk highly of yourself, not just when you're out in the world in the interview, but when you're at home. You know, there's times that, and I know this is rather funny because I can't see myself too clearly in the mirror, but there's times that I just want to get dressed up at the end of my day. I don't want to put on my pajamas and sluggishly go to bed. I want to cut off my work day. I want to pour myself a glass of wine or champagne or whatever I got going on. And I might put on a dress and I might just kind of sit down and watch a good show and kind of shake it up. I know it might seem kind of silly, but you know, a lot of people just go from work to home and they just flated through the day, overworked, overwhelmed. And remember, life is worth living. Life is about opening your arms up to heartbreak, to disappointments. Because when you have a heartbreak, you will always learn something. You will always bounce back stronger. For some, it takes a short amount of time, and for others, it takes longer. But without mistakes, without heartbreak, without disappointment, without no's, then we have no measure for which to grow from. So believe in yourself. Never give up. Always know that you are fully capable and you're worth living your purpose. We'll be right back with Nikki Johnson-Houston and more calls.
Isn't this dinner party wonderful? Jeanette and Bill did so much planning, and the house looks great.
Well, you know, it was almost canceled. Did you hear that Bill was really sick with the flu 2 weeks ago?
No, I had no idea. I've been so busy at work. But my coworker's toddler was in the hospital with flu, too. Is Bill okay?
It was pretty serious and aggravated his asthma. Bill got sick quickly with a high fever. Fortunately, Jeanette got him to the doctor right away. The doctor said it was flu and prescribed a medication that helped him get back on his feet.
I didn't know flu was so serious until I heard Bill say he felt like he'd been hit by a truck. He missed a big meeting at work.
Well, thank goodness Jeanette had gotten her flu shot. Because, you know, she's expecting.
What? Oh, man.
I guess that was another thing you guys didn't know either.
A message from the Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I can't come to the phone right now because I'm abusing my children. Not just verbally, but physically. I'll get back to you.
If only child abuse was this easy to recognize. If you even suspect abuse, call Child Help at 1-800-4A-CHILD or visit childhelp.org. We've helped millions of people help millions of children. All calls are anonymous and confidential, so call 1-800-4A-CHILD or visit childhelp.org. Child Help. Trust your instincts. Brought to you by Child Help and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. or better yet, designated texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Today, you hit the snooze bar. You checked your email. You checked your fantasy football team. You rejected an insulting trade offer. You ate your lunch. You did all the things that one normally does the day before a 175-mile-per-hour hurricane blows through your city, leaving it in a state of ruin. You never know when the day before is the day before. Prepare for tomorrow at ready.gov/today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out show. I hope everyone is having a great day full of purpose and possibilities. I love the show. I love that we have this time together to get inspired over the weekend, to get ourselves set for the week. And really, I want you to embrace the show because we're talking about transitions. How do you get through those tough life transitions? Well, you do it by plugging into a show like this. You do it by reaching out to friends and family that can give you that guidance, give you that strength. And most of all, you listen to your body. You listen to your mind and your heart. When you need something in your life, when you need that support, when you need a good cry, when you're angry and you need support around that, get it. Don't dismiss those feelings. Don't just package them away and be complacent about it. Harness the power to acknowledge what's working and what's not working. That's how we transition through life. Now, we have a very special guest today, Nikki Johnson Houston. And I want to tell you, I have talked to Nikki a couple of times, and she is amazing. I mean, inspiring, heartfelt. But when you hear her story, I mean, she's gone through homelessness. She's gone through so many different heartbreaking, I want to say like, detachments from different family members. You know, she thankfully had a couple great mentors along the way, but today she's made it. She's living a life of purpose. And so she's truly a great example of what it means to live full out. I'd like to welcome Nikki Johnson Houston. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, I could barely sleep last night. I was so excited to have you on the show. Honestly.
Me too.
No, you're amazing. You're amazing. And so I want to kind of catch our audience up on your life a bit. Now, there's different phases to your story, but if you could kind of share with us just kind of your family background, because that's a lot about where your story and where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Detroit to a single mom, and my mom had some drug and alcohol issues that really made it difficult for my life. Before I was even born, two of my uncles died on the streets of Detroit. One was stabbed to death, and the other was shot and paralyzed when he was about 14, and then he died 4 years later of complications. So I was born into a really difficult set of circumstances. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, really sort of kept our family together, but she worked her whole life as a domestic, and she was injured in a bus accident when I was about 3, and it disabled her. And so it took our family from, being part of the working poor to being fairly destitute. The one positive that came out of that was that my grandmother got a small settlement, and she used that money to move our family from Detroit to California in the hopes that a different environment would give us a fresh start in life. But sort of unfortunately, my mother's drug and alcohol problems followed us. And within a couple of years of us moving to California, my mother decided she was going to move to a different part of California and move us away from my grandmother. And that started us on the spiral of being homeless. She met a man, and we were living in a hotel, and he took all of our money. And so we went from living in a hotel to living in motels to people letting us stay on their sofas, on their floors, in their cars, and then we ran out of places to stay, and that's ended up being how we ended up on the streets.
And you know what? I have to say that must have been scary.
It was very scary. I was only 9 years old, and to be honest, not only was it scary because I didn't know where my next meal would come from or where I would sleep on any given night. But I also felt like a burden to my mother because I felt like my brother and I were extra burdens for her.
You know, I wonder, I have not been homeless, but I've lived in various communities where they welcome the homeless quite a bit, such as Santa Monica, California. There's a large homeless population there, and they're well received by the community. It's actually very special. But, you know, is it dangerous? I mean, I've always wondered, what is it like being on the streets, and what is it like being in a shelter? What is that world like?
I mean, it can be very dangerous. The danger comes sort of in a couple different forms. The other people that you may be dealing with who are homeless, I mean, I met some of the nicest, kindest, smartest people, surprisingly, on the streets. But there are also people who have, you know, serious drug and alcohol problems and mental health issues. So there's absolutely a danger of people that will try to prey on you. Shelter life. It could be very inconsistent. I mean, we were fortunate enough that, you know, some shelters we would stay in would be nice. Others weren't. So you were afraid of getting all of your items stolen. And I actually had a pair of shoes. One of my shoes got stolen. And that's just sort of the reality of your situation, because we would have to go and stand in line. And if you didn't get there in time or they ran out of beds, we didn't have a place to stay during the night. So my mother would have to find a park bench for us to sleep on.
Now, I thought it was very interesting because when you were homeless, obviously sleeping is one thing, but what do you do during the day? Were you in school? Where did you go?
I really wasn't consistent enough to go to school, and to be honest, my mother tried to kind of hide us away from the system because she was afraid we would be taken away, and a couple of times we were put in a foster home, and then she would get us back. But for us, the main thing that we did was we would go to the library. It was a safe place to go. It was warm, and they didn't bother you, you know, as long as you sort of didn't cause a ruckus. And for me, it was a life changer because those books became my playmates and opened up an entirely new world to me. I started reading about art and history and travel and biographies, and it made me have an outlet to dream about what my future would be. And it was the thing that kind of kept me going sort of during those dark days and nights. And I dreamed that one day I would be a lawyer, even though I didn't know any lawyers in real life.
You know, I love that. And for everybody listening today, don't forget about the libraries. I know we live in this digital age and all, but, you know, I think that is such a fantastic example of how you spent that time. And, you know, it sounds like it was also a cherished memory with your mom, you know, something that you did together. And so that's great.
And that, you know, and I have to say that ability to be able to read, I was a voracious reader and I still am. And I found that helped me a lot in my life academically. So even though I wasn't in school, I was really sort of working on important skills, and I didn't realize it at the time. I love that. I love that. And it's inspiring for anybody in any walk of life that they're in to plug in, to, you know, when you're in a moment of hopelessness, plug into the library, plug into learning, because if you learn, you can grow and you have an opportunity to advance. Where did things go with your family? You know, your brother, your mom. Did you guys eventually stay together, or how did that go? No. So what happened is after several months, my mother made a selfless choice, and she realized that she couldn't keep us together as a family, and I was sent to live with my grandmother, and my brother was put into foster care. And I never lived with my brother again. And I always give so much credit to the woman that I am today because of my grandmother, because, you know, she grew up in 1920 in Mississippi. And I remember getting off the bus, you know, to go live with her. And she looked at me and she said, "Nikki, you're fortunate enough to be born in a different America than the America I was born into. To the greatest generation of women that will have ever lived up until this time. You can do anything and be anybody you want to be if you work hard enough and you get educated." And she looked at me and said, "What do you want to do and who do you want to be?" And I looked at her and I thought about it for a second, and I said, "I want to be a lawyer and I want to have lots of shoes." And the reason I said lots of shoes is, like I said, someone had taken one of my shoes in the shelter. And so I came to my grandmother with 1.5 pairs of shoes, and the pair of shoes that I had on didn't fit. And so to me, success meant being a lawyer, being an advocate, being a voice for the voiceless, but also having shoes that fit and having some control over my life.
Well, I'm very grateful that your grandmother was that strong role model for you, and that situation was actually kind of humorous in itself, right? Here you were living in a senior community.
Yes, so the one of the reasons my grandmother could only take one of us is because she was living in a senior citizen complex, and on top of it, it was for Section 8 people. So the rule was that only you could only come and visit your grandparents for 2 weeks at a time. So all of the other women in the community pretended to be my grandmother for 2 weeks at a time so that we could stay long enough for my grandmother to get her Section 8 voucher changed so that I could sort of come out of the shadows. And what's humorous about that story is that most of those women were not African American like me. So I had Hispanic grandmothers, so I was Nikki Lopez for 2 weeks. I was Nikki Hernandez, but my personal favorite was I was Nikki Wong, because one of my 10 grandmothers was Asian. And what I learned from that is that, you know, there was a community around me who was invested in making sure that I was okay, and the importance of sort of, you know, everybody pitching in, that, you know, one person can make a difference in another person's life. And that was a really important lesson that I learned. These women didn't have a lot of money, and they did kind of break the rules, but they showed me that someone cared about me. And that was important to me where I was, because I'd been out on the streets for several months, and I was traumatized when I came to them. And they really just gave me a lot of love and support.
You know, I'm just curious, because that probably was the most home-like feeling you had felt in a long time. What does home mean to you? Stability,
being in control of sort of where my life is. I mean, I wouldn't lie and say that money doesn't play a role in that, and not money for money's sake, but money to know that I'm going to have plenty of food and home, you know, a roof over my head. But you know what? Most importantly, love. And, you know, what my grandmother gave to me was she gave me confidence and a belief in myself that it didn't matter that I was born black or poor, that I could change my life and that I could make my life be what I wanted it to be.
Absolutely. Nikki, I'm so sorry we're going to be going to commercial here, but you're right. Love is a main component. So we'll be right back with more Nikki Johnson Houston after this break, but stay tuned.
Ahoy there, matey. How's the fishing this morning? Shh! You'll scare the fish. Oh, nonsense. Fishies love the safety pirate. Now tell me, I see you're wearing your life jacket, and that's mighty smart of you. But have you taken a boating safety course?
I have. Now, could you please leave?
So you know to stay alert by not mixing alcohol and boating, don't you?
I do.
But I bet you didn't know it's dangerous to speed on the water. Now, did you, Turbo?
Actually, I knew that.
Well, smarty pants. You seem to know it all, don't you?
Yep. Maybe even more than a safety pirate.
Watch your mouth, sailor!
When you're out on the water this year, make sure you're being safe. Learn the boating rules and watch out for other boaters.
And remember to boat smart. Boat safe.
A message from the National Safe Boating Council.
I want to change some things. I want the moms where I live to have childcare they can trust.
I want to make sure my little brother and his friends have a safe place to play.
I want to help more kids graduate from high school.
Help more hardworking families learn how to budget and save.
I want more of my neighbors to have access to health care.
Want to make a difference? There are so many ways you can. Help create opportunities for everyone in your community.
I want to change what I see around here.
United Way is creating real, lasting change where you live by focusing on the building blocks of a better life: education, income, and health.
I mean, I just want to see more smiles on my sidewalks.
Reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all. Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. For more, visit United Way at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I am here with you today. We're talking about life transitions. And honestly, we're right now talking to Nikki Johnson Houston. She's our inspirational guest for the show. And she's sharing with us her personal journey, having gone through being homeless to, being separated by her family, and really how she evolved over the years and became just the powerhouse that she is today. That's really the word that comes to mind for me for Nikki, but I want to welcome her back to the show. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nancy.
You got it. So I'm just curious. So you're living with your grandmother. You're 9, right? How did that little girl go from being so scared? I mean, how did you transition from feeling homeless? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
How did you make that jump?
It wasn't easy. I mean, I'd been out of school for several months, so one of the first hurdles we had to get past was getting me back into school, and they wanted to hold me back, and my grandmother advocated for me and said, she's a smart girl, you should test her. And what happened was they tested me, and I tested gifted in English and math. And so that put a different label on me. It put the label of being a smart girl and on me instead of being a homeless girl. And so my grandmother worked really hard to make sure that I had good self-esteem, that I understood the importance of education. But she also wanted me to understand the importance of serving others, that I was fortunate and that she had high expectations for me that I was going to go to college. But she always used to say that she thought I was going to do something great in life, but I wouldn't be judged by my own success, but by the success I helped other people to achieve. And so for me, success isn't just my own personal success, but it's helping others. So there was a lot of love, sweat, blood, and tears that went into it. At one point, my grandmother got ill when I was graduating from 8th grade, and I was sent back to live with my mother. And my mother had gotten off of drugs and married my stepdad, who she met at one of our soup kitchens. They had a job as apartment managers, and after a year, they lost their job, and we ended up homeless again, and I was sent back to live with my grandmother, which is where I stayed until I went off to college.
Wow. And what was it like for that brief time when you were living with your mom? Here she was stable. You probably felt like, everything was finally coming together. To go homeless again, what was that like? Because now you're older and you get it more.
I did. I mean, luckily for me, that was a fairly smooth transition because we were, only homeless for a few days versus being a few months. It was very difficult because I was much more aware of what was going on. But again, my grandmother was always my rock. So she made sure that she got her Section 8 transferred, and she moved to San Diego so that I could go back to the high school that I started at. And once I went back there, I was a cheerleader and on yearbook, and she gave me a very normal kind of existence. I think one of the things, though, is that I've learned to be very sort of flexible with life, because if you don't find that flexibility, those kinds of transitions and those kinds of ups and downs will break you. And once I knew I survived on the streets, I knew I would be okay no matter what, that I could kind of depend on myself, and that, my grandmother was always there, and I think it served me well.
Yeah, again, Nikki, you've just given us another great lesson to take with us today during the days is just that. I mean, there was so much love, there was so much good guidance, but you shared with me, on a personal note that, you had a lot of fear around your existence always being a struggle, that you might always be homeless. How did you overcome that?
practice, getting it wrong sometimes. I mean, I went off to college and I really struggled sort of with that imposter syndrome of feeling like I wasn't good enough and everyone could sort of see it. And I failed out of college after my first year and ended up turning it around and getting a job as a live-in nanny and going back to school at night and graduating with my college degree and then going on to law school. But I have to say, probably until I got to law school, did I really recognize that all of the things that had happened to me didn't make me weak or a failure, that in some ways that's where my strength came from. That those things may have broken a lot of other people, and I was still standing and still strong, and so instead of running away from it, I embraced it. And so I think the more that I embraced myself and my background and all of the things that had happened to me, the more I was my more authentic self, the stronger I became, but also the world responded to me in a really positive kind of way.
Well, it's interesting because life just kept unfolding for you in very mysterious ways of guiding you towards your purpose. I mean, weren't you nannying for 2 lawyers, of all things?
I did. I ended up answering an ad. The mother was head of the ACLU for Pennsylvania, and the father was a law professor. And they told me that if my school would take me back at night, that they would guarantee that one of them would be home every night so that I could go to class. And my undergraduate university, St. Joseph's University, took me back, and they never missed a night getting home on time. One of them was home so that I could go back to night school, and that's exactly what happened. And so I think I'm in the place that I was supposed to be. And I always say that it's important for people to reach out and help each other, but it's equally important for you to be accepting of that help and to be in a place to accept it. And that was hard for me coming from being on the streets, because the rules of the street is you trust no one. And so it was something that I really had to get past. But for a long time, I struggled with why all of these things happened to my family. And I think in the last couple of years, I've come to the realization that the answer is, why not my family? No one's family deserves to be in this situation. But maybe it happened to me because this is who I'm supposed to be. I'm an advocate for the homeless now. I'm a successful attorney. And so, it was trial by fire, but I'm proud of the woman I turned out to be.
Oh, and we're honestly so proud of you. Like I said, I am just beaming today because I get this time with you, and that's very special to me. And one of the things that I'm curious about is, you went through all these life transitions, and you've come out the other side. But if somebody is listening today, and maybe they're homeless, but they're hearing this show, or maybe they are in financial distress and they fear going homeless, or maybe they're dealing with the transition of having their own children in their foster system, or whatever it could be, anything that would relate to your story, what would you share with those people listening today about how they can stay strong?
I mean, I like what you said in the intro about, seeking out the support that you need from family, from friends. The other thing I would say is don't run away from being afraid. Being afraid is natural. But what I say is life isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And so sometimes you walk, sometimes you crawl, sometimes you run. But the main objective is to keep moving forward. So for myself, that's what I always did, is I didn't necessarily worry about where I was going to be in 5 years or getting to law school. I took it day by day, week by week, month by month. And so sometimes things just take time. And don't be afraid of that. Life can be difficult, and sometimes it's difficult just because it is. But know that deep down inside you have the strength to get through, and success is just sort of over that next bump. And the truth is, I'm like so many women out there, there's really nothing sort of exceptional about me. I just get up every day and move forward. And I was fortunate enough to have someone who believed in me until I could believe in myself.
Wow. I mean, that's so strong and so powerful, that statement. One of the things that I hear all the time from people that I coach is, Nancy, I have these triggers. I'll be in a store, I'll hear somebody's voice, and it triggers me back to that place. Do you have triggers today for yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, every time I walk outside of my office, I see homeless people, and it triggers that. When I look at them, I don't run away from that because I see myself. But I've learned to embrace that. That's not a bad thing. I think for me, it's allowed me to stay connected and grounded. It's allowed me to still maintain empathy and to have a sense of gratitude about my journey and where it's been. And when I look at someone who's homeless, I think, oh my God, that was me. But I also think, I'm not better than this person. I'm just further along in their journey. And a lot of times I'll stop and share my story with them because, you know, part of it is that I'm just a normal person. And if it can happen for me, it can happen for anybody. The one thing I would say is hold on to that faith that your life is going to get better. But you also have to be, you know, you have to take the lead in that role and helping to make your life better and go out and find the support and the help that you need.
Yeah, I mean, you had your grandmother, you had all the ladies at the senior community, and obviously the 2 attorneys that you nannied for. You had a lot of good mentors, good supporters along the way. And I believe that everybody can have supporters. They just have to reach out and let those people show up when they're ready. And what final thought do you have for our audience today?
Is to not just seek support, but be support for people. Because no matter where you are, there's somebody behind you that wants to be where you are. And where you start is not where you finish. And one of the most important lessons my grandmother ever taught me was that it doesn't matter what other people think about you. It matters what you know to be true about yourself. So live your own truth.
I love that. And what's your grandmother's name?
Ann Johnson. She unfortunately passed away when I was a junior in college, but I just give her so much credit because she was such a great role model for me about being a strong woman.
Well, I do believe that Ann, your grandmother, Gary, my father, even those who pass in our life, I do believe they're always with us. So I wanted to give you that opportunity to thank her, and I'm sure she heard that. And I want to thank you, Nikki, for being on our show. We've loved having you, and you know, let's definitely stay in touch and perhaps have you back on a future show because you're so empowering and lovely. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was great.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. I got to tell you all, that touches me in so many ways, and I hope it touched you. We'll be right back taking more of your calls and living full out together. Stay tuned.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
You remember that ball game we went to a couple years ago?
Sure.
And how you didn't have enough cash for 2 hot dogs, so you walked with me on your shoulders until we found an ATM? And then when we got back to our seats, we never saw the hot dog guy again.
Well, I don't remember all that.
Yeah, that was an awesome game.
You never know which moments will be the ones they'll remember forever, so take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Medical mistakes claim tens of thousands of lives every year. The healthcare community is working on it, but you can help. When you communicate with your doctor, when you ask more questions, you reduce your risk of suffering a medical mistake. Doctors can't answer if you don't ask. Help reduce your risk. Questions are the answer. Learn the 10 questions you must ask. Visit www.ahrq.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and the Ad Council.
I'm getting a catcher's mitt.
I'm getting ice skates. I'm getting a devastating flood.
Adults are generous. We're even giving kids global warming, but we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is President Barack Obama. In the story of America, the greatest chapters are moments of challenge, when we see people serving their country and one another. Volunteers who step forward into hospital corridors and church basements, along levees and fire lines. And the next chapter is yours to help write. Sign up to volunteer at usaservice.org. That's usaservice.org. Let's renew America together.
A message from Renew America Together, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Life is full of many transitions, and they're going to challenge you. They're going to make you very careful and cautious and worried, but know that you have that living full out spirit inside you. You have the ability to live a life full of purpose. I want you to step out there today and be of service to someone else. Reach out your hand to someone, help them, ask for help if you need it, because that is how you get through the life transitions.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I cannot believe we're in our last segment of the show, and it's always special for me to be here with all of you. And again, we're taking your calls in this segment. The number to call in is 800-333-0001, 800-333-0001. Thank you again, Nikki Johnson-Houston, for her very inspirational interview. And these life transitions, they get tricky. They challenge us. They make us want to give up. But the thing is, just like Nikki was saying, you got to have faith. You got to always feel that you're worth it. Know that you're worth it. And again, like I said early on in the show, how we talk to ourselves is so critical in our ability to transition through these huge life moments with more ease, with more flexibility, with more flow. And it's never too late to ask for help. It's never too late to get plugged into a show like this, to go to the library, get inspired. Don't ever give up. That's what Living Full Out is about. We're going to go back to the phone lines now. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. Tell us what's going on today.
So I guess I was calling to see what advice you would give to a young person who's in school, who's trying to strike a balance in their life between professional life, being active on campus, and being personally satisfied.
Boy, we all want that life balance. And I tell you that because I hear you. That's a tricky one. How do you do self-care right now? How do you give yourself those personal moments in the day to bring that balance into your life?
I honestly feel like I'm not doing any personal moments in my life right now.
Okay.
Because I'm so busy. I think everyone's super busy right now in their life, and that's it's a terrible excuse, but I think everyone allows themselves to have anxiety, and I don't take personal time for myself.
Do you feel guilty to take personal time for yourself?
Yes, I think I do feel guilty to take personal time for myself.
And where do you think that guilt comes from? Did somebody tell you at some time in your life that you can't take personal time? Did somebody tell you that you must work hard, that there's huge benefits and awards for being the person that's the most busy?
You know, it wouldn't surprise me, being raised by a single mother, that's probably why I feel the way I do.
Mm-hmm. The reason why I mention that is because there's chapters in our life, okay? You were a child, you're obviously in the university stage of your life now, and you're going to continue to evolve. But just because we were raised a certain way and we were given certain mantras of work hard and you know, da 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 da, you know, go for the stars, whatever. You have the ability to step back. You have the ability to say, you know what? I want to learn guitar. I want to take singing lessons. I want to join an athletic volleyball, you know, a team, whatever you want to do. Because I have people who, in my clients of mine, who want to do workout activities. And the thing is life is not about showing awards and, you know, getting to the top by yourself. It's really about growth and learning. And, you know, one day down the line, let's say you have grandkids and you're sitting there, you want to tell them all these fascinating stories of things that you did, places you traveled, foods that you ate, friends that you had. And it's not always about work. It's not always about achievements. Do you get that?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, and I hear you, because I've gone through my own workaholic busy stages of my life, but, you know, you're at such a great time in your life, at such a great age, where you can really set your own parameters, you know, your own habits, and kind of let the life lessons that your mom gave you be just that. They were life lessons from the past, but you have the ability to set your future.
That's really great advice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think I'm struggling through something right now, making a decision of whether I wanted to make my life busier or not, and I think I just heard the answer.
And actually, what I think you're going to find is when you say no sometimes in our life, or when we let go, there's a lot of freedom about that. Don't feel like you're letting anyone down, but you can breathe easier when you're free, when you're not so overwhelmed. So I'd love for you to call us back in a future show, let us know how it's going, but I really appreciate you calling in, because many of our listeners are probably dealing with that same struggle.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Have a great day. Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So raise your hand in your home by yourself, in the car, if you are overwhelmed, feeling unbalanced. A lot of us, right? That's just how life is. But we have the ability, we have the control to transition through life with more ease. But we have to set that pace. We can't let others dictate it. We're going to be going back to the phone lines. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hello?
Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. Are you still there?
Huh?
There you are. I hear you. So tell us, what's going on for you?
Well, my issue is I was going to school and I was working nights at the same time, and I literally was only getting about 3 hours of sleep during the week, and I just literally broke down in class. I couldn't do it, but now that I've got my schedule figured out, I was wondering if it would be a good idea to start going back to school and work at the same time, because I don't want to go through that again.
Well, here's the thing. Looking back at our past is always a great way to get a predictor of the future. Okay? Now, it isn't to say that you can't do both here in the future. You probably learned a lot, and maybe you have better habits, better structure in place. But in looking back, when you were so busy, so overcommitted, were you enjoying life?
Yeah, I was busy, staying busy.
Did you enjoy life?
Huh?
Were you enjoying your life? Hello? Oh, I think we lost that caller. So hopefully we'll get him back. But anyway, what I was going to tell the caller, and I'll share with all of you, is that if in life we look back at our past, and if we were ever overcommitted, and then you had to evaluate back at that time, were you enjoying life? Were you not enjoying life? You know, did you feel like you were a people pleaser? Did you feel like you were out of integrity? Maybe you were always running late to things. And you have to decide, is that the person you want to be again? You know, do you have enough willpower? Do you have enough structure in place to not slip back into those bad habits? If you feel as though you might not be able to do that, if you feel like balance may be something that you can't do, then you want to set yourself up for success. You may not want to be overcommitted. You know, life transitions are about learning. It's about being honest. Sometimes I have to be really honest with myself. I have to say, Nancy, I know you want to go to that event. I know you want to fill up your coaching schedule. I know you want to go to that speaking engagement, but you can't do everything. You can't physically do everything and still have time to do things that we love. Like, I loved karaoke. I love it. And it brings me so much joy. I love hanging out with my friends and going to happy hours. And we have a standing Thursday night thing. And when I miss those Thursday night with my girlfriends, I feel sad. I feel like I'm missing something. And the only way that you get those life moments of karaoke and hobbies and friendships is if you allow yourself to have personal time. So when you're considering this grand schedule of your life, really plan it out. I'm a fan of schedules, but make sure you plug in personal time, workout time, time with your friends, time to sleep. Our last caller was saying that he didn't sleep very much. Sleep is important. You will age if you don't sleep. You will get cranky if you don't sleep. It's really important to do self-care. And when you're living on purpose, here's the really exciting thing. When you're living on purpose and you're in relationships that are supporting you, when you're in a career where you feel like you're giving, where you feel like you're using your education, when you're overall in good health, that's when you're in balance. That's when you're able to transition through life with more ease. And the great thing is, when you're in a healthy, happier place, you can be that source of strength for others who are not in that same place. They're hopeless. And you can bring them to a hopeful position. You can even further your purpose. So I hope that today you get a lot of life lessons, because I know I have. But the biggest thing I want to make sure that you take with it is that to get through life transitions, you have to continue to believe in yourself. You have to continue to know that around the bend, things are going to get better. And it's hard sometimes when we're in despair, when we're in those tough life challenges, to think, will it get better? And it's tough to sometimes quiet the voices in our head or the people talking to us telling us we need to do things or need to be things. But listen to your heart, and I mean that sincerely. Because when you listen to your heart, whether you need to let go of something or whether you need to take a risk, that's when you're living full out. That's when you're reaching those moments of exhale, because you're free. You're doing it. You're doing things big. For me, this show is, like I said, very special because we get, emails and notes from people who listen to the show and they are grateful for the life change that has come out of it. And so know that next week we'll be back with another very inspiring guest, someone who will just literally take you to the next level. I know they take me to the next level each week. And it's really important that when you listen to the shows, you come into it with an open heart, that if you have a question or a crisis, call in the 800 number. Again, 800-333-0001. Take a note of it this weekend. Call us back. Your friend Nancy is just here on the other end waiting to talk to you. And I believe that if we grab hold of this time together that we have each week, we can all take small but yet measurable steps to live our lives full out together. I want to thank everybody who has put the show together. Ashana, Mindy, Rich, everybody on the Living Full Out team, the callers that were brave enough to call in today and get that advice. Those people are courageous. They're my partners in crime when we consider this life journey, because they're willing to step up and say, hey, I need help. I want my life to be better. And most of all, I want to thank Nikki Johnson Houston, because for people like her to step out there and expose their story, share their story, that's courage in a big way. And we all have that ability. So here's to you living your life full out. And again, we'll be back next week. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.